Black single mom gave her last $20 to a homeless
Here,
man,
this is all I
unaware he
have.
was a Korean mafia boss. 4 fives. Creased and worn, like the hands that held them. Maya Johnson turned the bills over in her palm, the last weight of hope between her fingers. $20. Enough to buy medicine, or a day's peace, or maybe keep the lights on one more night. $20 that stood between her kids and hunger, between tomorrow and the dark. Single black mothers never get the luxury of tears. People see them as weakness, not endurance. So Maya swallowed the ache in her throat and tucked those bills away, feeling their weight like stones. December wind knifed through her jacket, finding every seam vulnerability hid behind. 2 jobs already today. 14 hours on her feet. Her children asleep next door under a neighbor's tired kindness, dreaming of a Christmas she still couldn't afford. That's when she saw him. Huddled against the wall outside the 24-hour market. Shoulders caved inward, hands blue-tipped and shaking. Hunger has a look. Maya recognized it, she'd worn it herself, that hollow-eyed emptiness that tries to disappear. She wasn't supposed to stop. The 20 in her pocket belonged to rent, bus fare, medicine, survival. But Maya stopped anyway. "You eaten today?" she asked, voice soft against the city's hard noise. No answer. Just a shiver, a shadow that refused to meet her eyes. She knelt, pulled those 4 fives from her pocket. The last dollar she owned, and pressed them into his cold hand. "Get something warm," she whispered. "Somebody still sees you." Then she walked away before regret could chase her down, before reason could remind her what she'd just lost. Empty pockets. But that fierce spark inside her. Still burning. What she didn't know was that the man she'd just helped, the trembling stranger she'd mistaken for lost, wasn't homeless at all. He was Jin-ho Park, the ghost king of the Korean underworld. A man whose wallet held more cash than she earned in months, whose name made hardened criminals forget to breathe. And she had just given him the only thing she had left in this world. The next morning arrived like all mornings in Maya's life, merciless, loud, demanding. 5:30 a.m. Children to feed. Lunches to pack. Uniforms that never stayed clean enough. Her daughter, Zoe, 9 years old with eyes too wise for her age, noticed the emptiness immediately. "Mama, where's the lunch money?" Maya's hands paused over the empty counter. $20 gone. Nothing left to replace it. "We'll figure it out," she said, the lie bitter on her tongue. That's motherhood, the art of pretending you're not drowning while your lungs fill with water. Her son, Marcus, 6 and still believing in heroes, didn't notice. He was busy drawing pictures of the father who'd walked out 3 years ago and never looked back. Maya dropped them at school with kisses and promises. Then walked 8 blocks to save bus fare and started her shift at Rosie's diner with empty pockets and a smile that cost everything to maintain. What Maya couldn't see was the black Mercedes idling across the street. Inside, Jin-ho Park watched her through tinted windows. Not homeless now. Not trembling. Not weak. Dressed in a suit that cost more than her yearly rent, face expressionless, eyes calculating. The kind of man who measured life in debts and payments. That's her. His lieutenant, Sung-min, asked quietly. Jin-ho nodded once. Last night she stopped. Everyone else walked past. "What do you want to know about her?" Jin-ho's fingers tapped against leather seats. "Everything. Because that's the thing about men like Jin-ho, they don't believe in coincidence. They believe in strategy. In motives. In angles. They don't believe someone gives away their last $20 without wanting something in return." But Maya had wanted nothing. Expected nothing. Asked for nothing. And that made her dangerous in ways Jin-ho couldn't yet understand. Within hours, his people knew everything. Maya Johnson. 32. Single mother of 2. Ex-husband with a record. 2 jobs. 3 months behind on rent. Electricity notice in the mail. Outstanding medical bills for her son's asthma. A woman drowning in slow motion while the world watched and did nothing. By afternoon, Jin-ho knew the shape of her life better than most who claimed to love her. The weight she carried. The walls closing in. The cliff's edge she balanced on. What he couldn't figure out was why she'd stop for him. Why anyone would sacrifice their last dollars for a stranger. This question burned in his mind like acid. This woman who had nothing had given everything. And Jin-ho Park, who had everything, had never given anything without calculating the return. Maya's feet ached by lunchtime. The diner never stopped. Orders piling up. Coffee spilled down her uniform. Tips that wouldn't cover groceries. When the lunch rush finally slowed, she collapsed into a booth for her 15-minute break. Counting coins like prayers. Trying to make numbers add up that never would. The bell above the door chimed. Maya didn't look up. Another customer meant ending her break early. But this customer slid into the booth across from her without asking. Black suit. Clean hands. Eyes that missed nothing. Jin-ho Park sat perfectly still, watching her recognize him. You, she whispered. Not the shivering man from last night. Not homeless. Not hungry. Not what she thought. His face gave nothing away. The $20. I came to return it. Maya's throat tightened. Something wasn't right. People like him didn't sit across from people like her unless they wanted something. Keep it, she said. I gave it freely. I don't accept charity. His voice cut like glass, smooth, sharp, dangerous. He placed an envelope on the table between them. What's this? Maya didn't touch it. Repayment. Her laugh was bitter, unexpected. For $20. You could have just said thank you. Jin-ho's eyes narrowed slightly. No one spoke to him this way. No one laughed. No one questioned. Open it, he said. Maya hesitated, then pulled the envelope toward her. Inside was a stack of $100 bills. More money than she'd held in her life. This is $2,000, she whispered. Jin-ho nodded once. A fair exchange. Maya pushed it back across the table. This isn't fair. This is insanity. I don't want your money. For the first time, Jin-ho looked genuinely confused. Then what do you want? The question hung between them, honest, raw, impossible. Maya stood, straightening her stained uniform. Nothing. I wanted nothing then, and I want nothing now. She walked away, leaving the envelope untouched. Leaving Jin-ho Park, for the first time in years, speechless. Because men like him understood every language except kindness. Every currency except compassion. Every exchange except one that asked for nothing in return. And that made Maya Johnson the most bewildering person he'd ever met. 3 days later, Maya returned home to find her apartment door fixed. New locks. New hinges. New security chain. The creaking floor in the hallway, silent now, repaired overnight. Her neighbor Mrs. Rivera shrugged when asked. Some men came. Fixed everything in the building. Wouldn't say who sent them. That night, the electricity bill she couldn't pay disappeared from her pile of overdue notices. The next day, her son's prescription was mysteriously covered by insurance that she'd never had. Maya knew. She wasn't stupid. The world didn't suddenly decide to be kind to single mothers in forgotten buildings. Someone was watching. Someone was interfering. Someone who thought money could buy what kindness had freely given. A week later, her car, broken down for months, started perfectly. New engine. New tires. New everything. The mechanic shrugged when she demanded answers. Already paid for, ma'am. Can't say by who. Maya stood in the parking lot, keys clutched in her hand, fury building like a storm. This wasn't help. This was invasion. She drove straight to Koreatown, the heart of it, where even police rarely ventured after dark. Parked outside the sleek restaurant everyone knew but no one mentioned. The front of something much larger, much darker. She walked through the door without hesitation. The host's eyes widened. "Ma'am, we're not open yet. Tell Jinho Park that Maya Johnson is here." The restaurant fell silent. 3 men at the bar turned to stare. No one used that name casually. No one demanded his presence. No one walked in uninvited. But 5 minutes later, Jinho appeared from a back room. Immaculate suit. Expressionless face. Eyes that gave nothing away. "MS. Johnson," he said quietly. "This is unexpected." Maya stood her ground, chin raised, fear buried beneath determination. "Stop fixing my life without asking." Jinho gestured toward a private booth. Maya didn't move. "I'm not staying. I'm telling you to stop." "You helped me," he said simply. "I'm helping you. I gave you $20. You're stalking me." Something flashed in his eyes, surprise, maybe even hurt. "I owe you a debt." Maya stepped closer, voice low, intense. "My kindness isn't something you need to repay. It's not a transaction." For a moment, Jinho looked genuinely confused. A man who had built his life on debts and payments couldn't understand a gift without price. "Then what do you want from me?" he asked again. Maya sighed, suddenly tired. "Nothing. That's the point. Not everyone wants something from you, Jinho." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Thank you for helping. But ask next time. I'm not a charity case, and I'm not a project." As she walked out, Jinho watched her go. A woman with nothing who refused everything he offered. A puzzle he couldn't solve with money or power or fear. For the first time in years, Jinho Park felt something stir inside his chest. Something dangerous. Something alive. Something that had been dead since he was 12 years old. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Official. Cold. Final. Maya's hands trembled as she read it again. Custody hearing. Her ex-husband, Darnell, wanted the kids. The same man who'd walked out 3 years ago. The same man who hadn't sent a single child support check. Now suddenly claiming she was unfit. Maya knew what this was. Not love for their children. Revenge. Control. Power. The new girlfriend's father was a lawyer. The new girlfriend had money. And Maya had nothing but exhaustion and overdue bills. She called in sick to both jobs. Spent the day making desperate calls. Legal aid was overbooked. Pro bono attorneys laughed at her case. "You can't fight money with no money, ma'am." That night, Darnell called. Voice smooth like it always was before the storm. "Just give me Marcus. You can keep the girl. Boys need their fathers." Maya's voice shook. "You haven't seen him in 3 years. He doesn't even remember you. Courts don't care. They'll see a hard-working father against a mother who can't pay her bills. You're doing this to hurt me." His laugh was cold, familiar in all the ways that still haunted her. "I'm doing this because I can. Because you've always been nothing, and you'll always be nothing." When he hung up, Maya sat in the dark kitchen, terror wrapping around her throat like hands. She'd survived everything: poverty, abandonment, hunger, shame. But losing her children? That would kill her. For the first time in years, Maya Johnson cried without trying to stop. She didn't notice the black car parked outside her building. Didn't see Jinho Park sitting behind the wheel, watching her window go dark. But he was there. Had been there since the letter arrived. His people had intercepted it first, photographed it, then delivered it as if nothing had happened. Jinho knew about the custody filing before Maya did. Knew about Darnell's gambling debts. Knew about the new girlfriend's father's law firm. Knew exactly what kind of man was trying to take Maya's children. The kind of man Jinho understood perfectly. The kind of man who only respected one language, fear. Jin-ho made a single call. Find everything on Darnell Johnson. Every debt. Every secret. Every weakness. Because that's what men like Jin-ho do when they decide to protect something. They don't ask permission. They eliminate threats. Maya didn't know it yet, but the battle for her children had just become uneven. Because a woman who'd given away her last $20 had unknowingly purchased the loyalty of a man who controlled half the city from shadows. The parking lot was dark when Maya finished her late shift. 10 hours on her feet. Tips that wouldn't cover gas. A hearing date looming like execution. She fumbled for keys, mind elsewhere, not noticing the three figures approaching until too late. Darnell. His cousin Marcus. Another man she didn't recognize. We need to talk, Darnell said, blocking her path to the car. Maya's heart hammered. I have nothing to say to you. His smile never reached his eyes. That's not how this works. You don't get to ignore me anymore. The cousin moved to her left. The stranger to her right. 3 men. 1 woman. An empty parking lot. The math of fear women calculate every day. Move, she said, voice steadier than her hands. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Darnell stepped closer. You should be. I'm taking my son, Maya. You can do this easy or hard. His hand closed around her wrist, that familiar grip that once left bruises no one questioned. Let go of me. Maya pulled back, but his fingers tightened. You always were stubborn. Always needed to learn the hard way. What happened next seemed impossible. Later, Maya would replay it in her mind 100 times. A black car appeared from nowhere, sliding to a stop beside them. 4 men stepped out. Not rushing. Not yelling. Moving with terrible purpose. The tallest one spoke a single sentence in Korean. Jin-ho Park stood beside Maya's car, hands relaxed at his sides, face expressionless. Not a weapon in sight. Not a threat spoken. Yet Darnell's face drained of color. His grip on Maya's wrist loosened. What the hell is this? He demanded, voice higher than before. Jin-ho didn't answer him. Didn't even look at him. He looked only at Maya. Are you hurt? She shook her head, speechless. Jin-ho nodded once, then finally turned to Darnell. You touched what belongs to me. Simple words. Calm voice. Eyes like winter. Darnell laughed nervously. Man, I don't know who you think you are. Jin-ho's men moved with practiced efficiency. In seconds, Darnell was against the car. His friends retreated, hands raised. No violence. No shouting. Just the promise of it hanging in the air like smoke. Jin-ho spoke quietly to Darnell, words Maya couldn't hear. But she saw the effect, saw fear replace arrogance, saw sweat bead on his forehead. Saw him nod frantically like a man agreeing to save his own life. When Jin-ho stepped back, Darnell stumbled away, not looking at Maya, not speaking. His friends followed quickly. Car doors slammed. Tires squealed. They were gone. Maya stood frozen, trying to understand what she'd just witnessed. The quiet efficiency of power. The language of fear she'd never mastered. Jin-ho turned to her. He won't bother you again. What did you say to him? Maya whispered. The truth. Jin-ho's voice was flat. That his custody case will disappear. That his gambling debts are now owed to me. That if he comes near you or your children again, he'll disappear too. Maya's legs weakened. She leaned against her car. You can't threaten people like that. I didn't threaten. I promised. And that's when Maya truly saw him, not the man she'd helped, not the businessman who tried to repay her. But Jin-ho Park as he really was. The Ghost King. The man whose name made hardened criminals tremble. A man who solved problems by erasing them. This is who you are, she whispered. Jin-ho didn't flinch from her gaze. Yes. I didn't ask for this. You didn't need to. Maya shook her head, suddenly afraid in a different way. Not of him hurting her, but of what his help would cost. What it meant. What world she'd accidentally stepped into when she'd given $20 to a stranger. I don't want my children around this, she said finally. Around violence. Around fear. Something flickered in Jin-ho's eyes, pain, maybe, or understanding. Then I'll stay away, he said quietly. But they will still be safe. You have my word. He stepped back, giving her space. I don't need your protection, Maya said, but her voice trembled. Jin-ho looked at her for a long moment, seeing everything she tried to hide. The exhaustion. The fear. The strength that cost too much to maintain. Yes, he said softly. You do. Then he was gone, sliding into the black car, disappearing into the night. Leaving Maya with questions she couldn't answer and protection she hadn't asked for. But Darnell never called again. The custody papers mysteriously vanished from court records. And for the first time in years, Maya slept without fear wrapping around her throat. 2 weeks passed. No sign of Jin-ho. Maya's life returned to its familiar rhythm of work and worry and worn-down hope. But things had changed in small, unexplainable ways. Her landlord suddenly remembered repairs he'd neglected for years. Her boss gave her better shifts without explanation. Even her children's teachers called less about supplies she couldn't afford. As if someone had whispered to the world. Make her life easier. Maya knew who. She wasn't naive. She felt his invisible hand in every unexpected kindness, every problem that mysteriously resolved. Jin-ho Park was keeping his distance but not his promise. She found herself looking for him, in parked cars outside the diner, in shadows as she walked home. Not out of fear. Out of something she couldn't name. Something that felt dangerously like missing someone she barely knew. Then one evening, she found him waiting beside her car after work. Leaning against the hood. No suit today. Simple black jacket. Hands in pockets. Almost ordinary, if not for the eyes that saw everything and revealed nothing. You're avoiding me, he said as she approached. Maya stopped a few feet away. You're the one who disappeared. You asked me to. I respected your wishes. She sighed, suddenly tired of the distance between them. Why are you here now? Your son's birthday is tomorrow. I wanted to ask before I sent anything. Maya stared at him. How do you know when Marcus's birthday is? Jin-ho didn't answer. Didn't need to. Of course he knew. He probably knew their blood types and favorite colors and deepest fears. I don't want gifts from you, she said firmly. Why not? Because I know what they cost. Not the money, the blood behind it. Jin-ho's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. You think my money is dirty. Isn't it? He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the tiny scar above his left eyebrow. Everything in this world is dirty, Maya. The clothes you wear. The food you eat. The car you drive. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? You work for a diner owner who doesn't pay taxes. You buy groceries from stores that exploit workers. You live in a system designed to keep you poor. Maya's anger flared. So that justifies what you do? I don't seek justification, he said quietly. I seek survival. Like you. I don't hurt people to survive. Something flashed in his eyes, pain, maybe even shame. Then you're better than me. I've always known that. The honesty in his voice caught her off guard. This wasn't the argument she expected. Not the defense of a man who believed in his own righteousness. I can't have you in my children's lives, she said, softer now. I can't explain to them what you are. And what am I, Maya? The question hung between them, honest, raw, impossible. Someone who solves problems with fear. Someone who lives in darkness. Jin-ho nodded once, accepting her judgment without protest. You're not wrong. He turned to leave, then paused. But you should know, before I met you, I never questioned it. Never wanted anything else. He walked away, disappearing into the night like he always did. Leaving Maya with the uncomfortable truth that neither of them had chosen their worlds. They'd been born into them, shaped by them, trapped by them. And maybe judging him was easier than admitting how similar they really were. Both survivors. Both doing whatever it took to stay alive in a world that wanted them invisible. Just with different weapons at their disposal. Saturday morning. The playground near Maya's apartment. Zoe pushing Marcus on the swings. Their laughter a rare gift in a world that offered too few. Maya sat on a bench nearby, watching them with fierce love. The kind that burns in your chest. The kind you'd kill for. The kind you'd die for. She didn't notice Jin-ho until he sat beside her. No warning. No approach. Just suddenly there, watching her children play. They're beautiful, he said quietly. Maya tensed but didn't leave. Why are you here? I wanted to see what you're protecting. They sat in silence, watching Zoe help Marcus climb the slide. Two children who had no idea their lives hung in fragile balance. Who didn't know about custody battles or late rent or the man sitting beside their mother. I had a mother like you, Jin-ho said finally. Strong. Stubborn. Sacrificed everything. Maya glanced at him, surprised. He never spoke of himself. What happened to her? Jin-ho's eyes remained on the playground, but they saw something else entirely. Something far away. Something painful. She was a widow. My father died when I was 5. We came to America with nothing. His voice remained flat, emotionless, as if reading a stranger's story. She cleaned houses. Worked night shifts. Did whatever it took to keep me fed, keep me in school. What happened? Maya asked again, softer now. Jin-ho's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. When I was 12, men came to our apartment. They wanted money she didn't have. The playground noises faded. Maya heard only his voice, quiet and controlled. They hurt her. Made me watch. Said it was a lesson about debt and payment. Maya's throat closed. Jin-ho. She died 3 days later. I had nowhere to go. No family. No money. He turned to look at her, eyes clear and hard as glass. So the same men who killed her took me in. Taught me how to survive. How to make sure no one could ever hurt me again. The truth hung between them, stark, ugly, impossible to judge. A child with nothing. A system that failed him. A world that offered only one path forward. I'm sorry, Maya whispered. Inadequate words for an unsurvivable wound. Jin-ho looked back at the playground. I was her world. Like those children are yours. She gave everything to keep me safe. His voice grew quieter. But in the end, she couldn't protect me from this city. From poverty. From men who see weakness and exploit it. Maya understood then, why he'd helped her, why her $20 had meant so much. Why he watched her children now with something like longing in his eyes. That's why you do what you do, she said. To never be that helpless again. Jin-ho nodded once. We all make choices, Maya. Some just have fewer options than others. Marcus fell from the slide. Cried out. Maya half rose, but Zoe was already there, helping him up, brushing off his knees. You remind me of her, Jin-ho said. My mother. She had the same eyes. The same strength. Maya sat back down, closer now. Not touching, but the distance between them had changed. What was her name? Minesio. The name left his lips like a prayer. She loved yellow flowers. Always said they looked like sunshine you could hold. Such a small detail. Such a human thing to remember about someone you loved. Not their death. Not their sacrifice. But the small joys they carried. Maya realized she was seeing beneath the armor for the first time. Not Jinho Park the Ghost King. Just Jinho, the son who still mourned his mother. The 12-year-old boy who'd watched his world end and built something terrible from its ashes. I should go, he said, standing abruptly. Maya caught his sleeve. Jinho. He stopped, not looking at her. Thank you for telling me. He nodded once, still not meeting her eyes. Now you understand why I won't let anything happen to you or your children. He walked away before she could respond. But this time, Maya watched him go with different eyes. Understanding that his protection wasn't about debt or ownership or control. It was about not letting history repeat itself. About saving another mother when he couldn't save his own. 3 days later, Maya stood outside Jinho's restaurant. Heart pounding. Hands trembling slightly. Courage threatening to fail. She'd never sought him out before. Always been found. Always been the one setting boundaries, keeping distance. But something had changed in that playground. Some wall had fallen. She couldn't pretend he was just a dangerous man anymore. Couldn't pretend she didn't think about him in quiet moments. The host recognized her instantly. Ms. Johnson. Please, follow me. Not to the dining room. To a private elevator that required a key card. Up to a space that felt more like a home than a restaurant office. Jinho stood by the window, back to the door, phone to his ear. Speaking rapid Korean, voice hard, shoulders tense. The voice of a man giving orders that must be obeyed. He turned when she entered. Froze mid-sentence. Said something quick and final, then ended the call. Maya, he said her name like a question. Is everything all right? She nodded, suddenly unsure why she'd come. What do you say to a man who's seen your soul and shown you his wounds? What words bridge worlds that never should have touched? I brought you something, she said finally, holding out a small paper bag. Jinho took it cautiously, as if unused to receiving gifts without ulterior motives. Inside was a small pot with 3 bright yellow flowers. His fingers stilled on the petals. His breath caught audibly. Sunshine you can hold, he whispered. Maya nodded. I wanted you to have some. To remember her. Jinho placed the flowers carefully on his desk, treating them like something precious. When he looked up, his eyes had changed. Something unguarded. Something vulnerable. Something real. Why are you here, Maya? The question hung between them, honest, raw, impossible. Because I can't stop thinking about you, she admitted. And I'm tired of pretending I don't care. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat from his body. I've done terrible things, he said quietly. Things I can't take back. Things I won't apologize for. I know. And still you're here. Maya nodded. Still I'm here. His hand lifted hesitantly, hovering near her face without touching. Asking permission. Waiting for rejection. Maya closed the distance, pressing her cheek against his palm. His skin was warm. Calloused. Real. I don't know how to do this, he confessed. I don't know how to be gentle. Then learn, she whispered. The kiss that followed wasn't perfect. Wasn't practiced. Wasn't smooth. It was hesitant, then hungry, then soft, a man discovering something he thought he'd never have. When they broke apart, Jinho pressed his forehead against hers. I will destroy anyone who tries to take you from me, he whispered. Maya pulled back slightly. That's not love, Jinho. That's possession. He shook his head, frustration evident. I don't know how to separate them. Then let me teach you. She took his hand, placed it over her heart. This is mine to give. Not yours to take. Not yours to claim. Mine to offer freely. Understanding dawned in his eyes, the difference between owning and being given. Between power and love. Between control and choice. Like your $20, he said softly. Maya nodded. Exactly like that. Something shifted between them. Something foundational. A man who had built his life on taking, finally understanding the value of what's freely given. Stay, he whispered. Just for a while. So Maya stayed. They talked for hours. About childhoods. About dreams abandoned. About favorite foods and books never read and places never seen. Not about his business. Not about her struggles. Just two people discovering each other in the quiet space between their worlds. When she finally left, Jin-ho walked her to her car. I don't know how to be the man you deserve, he said. Maya touched his face gently. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to try. He kissed her palm, a gesture so tender it made her heart ache. For you, I will try to be better than I've ever been. As Maya drove home, she wondered if love always felt this way. Like standing at the edge of a cliff. Like falling without fear. Like finding home in the most unexpected place. The meeting was called at midnight. 12 men around a table. The heads of the Korean syndicate, men who controlled drugs, gambling, protection rackets. Men who had known Jin-ho since he was 12. Men who feared him. Men who followed him. Jin-ho stood at the head of the table, face impassive. I'm stepping down, he said without preamble. Silence fell like a blade. Then eruption. Questions. Protests. Suspicions. Accusations. Sung Min, his lieutenant for 15 years, raised a hand for silence. Why? He asked simply. Jin-ho met his gaze steadily. Because I choose to. You built this, another man said. Everything we have exists because of you. And it will continue without me. The oldest man at the table, face lined with scars and years, laughed bitterly. This is about the woman. The Black Mother. Jin-ho's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Her name is Maya. And yes. She is part of my decision. Murmurs around the table. Disapproval. Confusion. Anger. Men who understood power but not sacrifice. Men who understood loyalty but not love. You would abandon everything for a woman who has nothing, the old man pressed. Jin-ho's voice remained calm. I would abandon everything for the chance to be something more than what this life has made me. He placed both hands flat on the table, leaning forward. I've given 20 years to this organization. I've bled for it. Killed for it. Built it into something unstoppable. His eyes moved around the table, meeting each gaze unflinchingly. And in return, it has given me wealth. Power. Fear. He straightened, voice softer now but no less intense. But it has never given me peace. It has never given me joy. It has never made me feel human. Sung Min watched him closely. And she does? Yes. Such a simple answer. Such an impossible truth. A man who commanded armies admitting that his salvation came in the form of $20 and a kindness he couldn't repay. They'll come for you, another man warned. Our enemies. The police. Everyone who's ever wanted you dead. Jin-ho nodded once. Let them try. And if they come for her instead? For her children? The question hung in the air, the real fear, the real weakness. A man like Jin-ho could protect himself. But those he loved? That's why I'm not disappearing, Jin-ho said quietly. I'm transitioning. Legitimizing what businesses I can. Dissolving what I can't. He turned to Sung Min, you'll take my place. You understand balance. Restraint. The future. Sung Min's expression revealed nothing. And if I refuse? You won't. You've always been smarter than me. Always known there must be a better way. For a moment, the mask slipped. These two men who had grown up together in violence. Who had saved each other countless times? Who knew each other's darkest secrets? You love her that much? Sung Min asked softly. Jin Ho didn't hesitate. Enough to become someone worthy of her. The old man slammed his hand on the table. This is weakness. This is betrayal. Jin Ho's gaze shifted to him, cold now, reminding everyone present exactly who he still was. Careful, Elder Kim. My patience has limits, even tonight. The room tensed. Everyone remembered what happened to those who pushed too far. The stories whispered about Jin Ho's rage. About bodies never found. About examples made. But Jin Ho didn't move toward violence. Instead, he straightened his jacket. My decision is made. The transition begins tomorrow. Sung Min will oversee everything. He walked to the door, then paused. I have protected you all. Made you rich. Kept you safe from enemies who would destroy everything. His voice remained calm, but the threat beneath it was clear as glass. In return, I ask only this, that Maya Johnson and her children remain untouched. Forever. He looked back, eyes moving from face to face. Because if anything happens to them, anything at all, I will return. And none of you will survive it. Then he was gone, leaving 12 powerful men sitting in stunned silence. Leaving behind a life built on fear and blood. Leaving behind everything he'd known. For a woman who'd given her last $20 to a stranger. For a chance to become the man she believed he could be. For love, something Jin Ho Park had never thought he deserved. 6 months later, a different city. A different life. A small house with a yard where children could play safely. New names. New beginnings. New chances. Jin Ho, now known simply as Jin, opened his own business. A legitimate one. Consulting for security firms, using knowledge earned the hard way. Still commanding respect, but without blood to earn it. Maya found work at a community center, then started classes at night. The degree she'd abandoned when pregnancy and poverty had forced her to choose survival over dreams. Social work. Helping others escape the trap she barely survived herself. Their worlds merged slowly, carefully, with boundaries Maya insisted on. No secrets from her children. No lies about his past. No pretending he was something he wasn't. They need to understand choices have consequences, she'd said. Even when those choices were forced on us. So Jean told stories, carefully edited versions for young ears. About a boy who lost his mother. About mistakes made in pain and fear. About redemption that came when he least deserved it but most needed it. Zoe watched him with suspicious eyes at first. 9-year-olds see more than adults think. Did you hurt people? She asked one night over dinner. Jean put down his fork. Met her gaze directly. Yes, he said simply. And that was wrong, no matter my reasons. Are you sorry? The question only a child would ask so directly. The question adults dance around. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, Jean said carefully. I'm sorry I didn't find another way. Zoe considered this with the seriousness only children can muster. Are you going to hurt people again? No, Jean promised. That's not who I want to be anymore. Marcus was easier. 6-year-olds see the world more simply. Jean played catch with him. Helped with homework. Read bedtime stories. Showed him how a man treats those smaller than himself, with gentleness, with patience. Showed him everything his own father had failed to be. At night, when the children slept, Maya and Jean talked in low voices. About the past. About fears. About the future they were building word by word, day by day. Do you regret it? She asked once. Walking away from everything you built. Jean traced the curve of her face in the darkness. I built an empire of fear, he said quietly. Now I'm trying to build a life of love. Which do you think I value more? Some nights were harder. Some nights Jean woke gasping, reaching for weapons no longer there. Some nights calls came from his old life, problems, threats, complications. On those nights, Maya held him. Reminded him of his choice. Of their choice. The past doesn't define you, she whispered. Unless you let it. Slowly, something new grew between them. Not just passion. Not just connection. But trust. The rarest currency between two people who had learned early that trust gets you hurt. Trust that Gene would never return to his old ways, no matter the temptation. Trust that Maya would never use his past against him, no matter how angry she became. Trust that together, they could build something neither had believed possible alone. A family. Imperfect. Complicated. Real. 1 year to the day since they first met, Gene asked Maya to marry him. Not with a diamond ring that spoke of wealth and possession. But with a small wooden box, hand-carved, containing something more precious. Maya opened it slowly, confused at first by what she saw. 4 $5 bills. Creased and worn. Familiar in a way that made her heart stop. Are these? Gene nodded. The same ones. I kept them. Maya touched them with trembling fingers. You kept my $20 for a year. I kept the moment that saved my life, he corrected softly. He took her hands in his. Before you, I was a ghost. Powerful, feared, but dead inside. Walking through a life I hated but couldn't escape. His voice grew quieter, more intense. Then you knelt in front of a stranger and gave him everything you had. Expected nothing in return. Showed kindness when there was no benefit to yourself. Maya's eyes filled with tears. It was just $20. Gene shook his head. It was humanity. It was dignity. It was seeing someone drowning and throwing them a lifeline instead of watching them sink. He pressed the box into her hands. I'm asking you to keep building this life with me. To let me love you and your children for as long as I live. To accept that a man can change when given reason enough to try. Maya closed her fingers around the box, around the $20 that had changed everything. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. That night, after the children were asleep, they sat on the porch of their small house. Stars above. Future ahead. Past behind. Not forgotten, never that, but no longer defining who they could become. I've been thinking, Gene said quietly. About opening a community center. In our old neighborhood. Maya looked at him, surprised. That's a lot of money, Gene. Money I have. Money that should go back to places it was taken from. He took her hand, thumb tracing the simple band she now wore. A place for single mothers. Job training. Childcare. Legal aid. Everything you needed and never got. Maya leaned against his shoulder. From Mafia boss to philanthropist. Quite a journey. Gene smiled. A real smile, something that had once been rare but now came easily. From a woman who had nothing but gave everything. An even more impressive journey. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the night sky. Two people who should never have met. Whose worlds should never have touched. Connected by $20 and the courage to believe in second chances. I love you, Maya said simply. Gene kissed her forehead. And I love you. More than I ever thought possible. Some stories begin with thunder. With drama. With fate written in neon. This one began with $20 and ended with immeasurable wealth. Not money. Not power. Not things that rust and fade. But love. Family. Redemption. The only currencies that truly matter in the end. If that truth stays with you, remember, sometimes the smallest kindness changes everything. Sometimes $20 saves not just a life, but a soul. Sometimes the world writes better stories than we could ever imagine. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we get to be part of them.